Welcome to Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen, a bi-monthly podcast designed to teach the searchers, seekers, and spiritually curious the basics of metaphysics and new thought. They are all about the basics, but they are not basic bitches. Now, here are your hosts, April Darley and Jen Merkel.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spiritual Basics Podcast. My name is Jen Merkel. I am a transformational life coach and certified hypnosis practitioner. You can find me at jenmerkelhypnosis.com.
I'm April Darley. I'm an emotional strength coach and confidence coach, and you can find out all about that at aprildarley.com.
So before we get into everything, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, follow, depending on what platform you're listening to us on. We are a non-monetized podcast, so any support you can give us is truly appreciated. And by the way, if you'd like to learn more about us, visit us at spiritualbasicspodcast.com. And you can also submit questions and show suggestions because we love to hear from you and we'd love to read them on the air as well. So we recently, because of COVID, we had kind of a little COVID style Thanksgiving, didn't we?
We did. And
normally I travel for Thanksgiving because I have relatives in other areas of Texas, but it just didn't seem safe to do so. And
I'm normally alone during Thanksgiving. So we decided to join forces, Wonder Team, and do our turkey day together.
Yeah, and April made some amazing potatoes that were like a dairy bomb in your mouth.
They have the nickname cracked potatoes for a reason because they are super duper good. They're labor intensive. They took about 2 hours to make, but worth it in the end.
Totally worth it. And we enjoyed some awesome cocktails. My favorite cocktail that I've had for years and years. Usually I drink it on Christmas because it's called the poinsettia. Mm-hmm. And what that is you put in a champagne glass, or, you know, if you don't like to refill a lot, you can use a wine glass, which I've been known to do. And I have huge wine glasses there. I think they're actually water goblets, but they look like really big wine glasses. So, you know, they're awfully convenient. Anyway, so you put some I can't remember what I put first. I think I put the cranberry juice first. Yeah. And then you top it off with champagne. You put about equal parts, or you could put a little bit more champagne, and then just a splash of Cointreau. And they are so yummy.
They were really great, you guys.
They sneak up on you too. And they're very pretty and festive. They are really good Christmas or New Year's drinks. So
yeah, it was super good. And Jen grilled some amazing steaks. Yeah. I am a steak well done kind of person, and Jen nailed it. And I know that there are a lot of cooks out there who hate to do the well done steak, but
yeah, it just comes from my previous life, not literal previous life, but I mean, I used to have to do that for my ex-husband too. He liked it much more done. So I learned a technique. I know.
But you do good marinades too. And I think that makes a lot of difference.
Girl, that was just Italian salad dressing.
I don't care. It was really good.
But I do pierce it with a fork all over, so it kind of soaks that up. And also you want to make sure you don't marinate it too early. I think it was marinating for like 4 hours or something. Because when you have beef, it can only marinate for a couple hours. If you have chicken, it can take, you can put it in for a little bit longer. Otherwise it starts breaking down, getting tough. So
yeah, I don't think I'm fancy enough to do marinades. So that sounds like, ooh,
I'm telling you,
fancy.
I just got an all natural, and actually sometimes I'll make my own, but just got an all natural Italian dressing from Trader Joe's and used that. And I marinated the vegetables in that too and stuck those on the grill. So yeah, it was really good. It was a good Thanksgiving and definitely stuffed. So, and then of course we had the Whole Foods cheesecake, which is amazing because we didn't have enough dairy with your potatoes. We had to have cheesecake as well.
And I swear that must have had at least 2 pints of blueberries on it.
Oh yeah, it was totally covered with blueberries and had a few strawberries too. So
it was good.
Yeah, it was good. Very indulgent. And then I guess we'll be spending Christmas and New Year's also similarly.
I know, right?
Probably not quite as extravagant, but anyway, so we'll have to talk about our plans for that.
Right.
And, speaking of drinks, by the way, I know in our last episode when we were talking about the moon, you had mentioned how to do moon water. So I took advantage of the recent full moon and I made some moon water.
You did. Dun, dun, dun. Did you hear the line of the podcast where I was like, I don't recommend you make moon water on this last one because it was an eclipse.
But I didn't do it during the eclipse.
Okay. All right.
So it's the full moon energy, but it wasn't on the full moon day.
All right. That's good. Because I was like, that's going to be some chaotic moon water for you.
No. So I had a little bit of that today with my juice that I take with my vitamins and supplements. So
good.
Yeah, it was good. I'm excited. So thinking about all the ways I can use it because I can put it in my essential oil diffuser.
Bath water.
Add it to my plant water, my bath water. Yeah. I can, Karma has issues with her eye. I can put a little bit in her water. Maybe that'll help her with a little bit of healing. And so
good stuff.
Lots of ways. So such good tips. And, contrary to where, all the things we've just been talking about for the last 5 minutes, this is not a recipe and food podcast.
True. We just love that. I'm a Taurus, so I love to eat.
Yeah, I don't know what placement in my chart that comes from, but I think just, because I'm a Midwestern girl. So I think that's why all the comfort food, and of course I was born in Wisconsin. That's the dairy state. So.
Right. And I will have to say, I know several Aquariuses and they're all foodies or particular about food to some degree.
That is true. I am pretty particular about food. I'm very, very careful, not careful. I'm very picky about what I eat and what I don't eat.
Well, we're going to move away from food and start talking about tonight's topic, which is release.
This is one of my favorite topics. And one of the reasons why we chose this is because I have been doing a nightly release ritual at bedtime for it's been about 3 weeks now. This is coming off the tails of doing a healing session with someone. I think I talked about that in a previous podcast. I also, by the way, followed up with grounding in the morning. So I do the release in the evening and then the grounding in the morning. And it's been working really, really well for me.
Good.
So yeah.
What have you noticed?
I notice I don't feel as scattered. My anxiety level. So I do have anxiety. It comes and goes just like anybody with anxiety, but it's almost like I flatten the curve a little bit. I know it's total cliche for this year, 2020, but no, seriously, it's almost like, how you've got peaks and valleys. It's kind of been a little bit flatter and a little bit slower. And I do feel a lot more grounded, a lot more connected to the earth. And I'm much more body aware, which is funny because I can be quite klutzy at times. And I think the last time that I had done anything like that was the night before Thanksgiving when I told you I thought I broke my toe, or it was 2 nights before Thanksgiving. And that's when I had just done a couple of these, but now I'm not bumping into things all the time and all that kind of thing. So it's, I just feel like I'm just getting myself back, it's really hard to explain, but when you know it, you know it.
Right? Good.
So when I did the healing session, when I started doing the release ritual every night, that was at the last new moon. And that's one of the best times that you can do a release. But also the reason why we're bringing this episode to you here at this time is because it's the solstice just happened on the 21st of December. And that's a great time to release. It's the end of the year, time to get rid of emotional baggage and things like that, so that you can clear all that out and prepare for your success in the new year.
Right. And that solstice was huge because there was a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that has not been seen since the Middle Ages, about the 1600s.
Wow.
So big time energy on that solstice that you can still, we're only a couple of days off from that. So you can still ride that wave of newness and manifestation and get rid of all that you want and usher in a new year.
Some other good times for release would be the third quarter moon. And that's coming up on January 6th. And then the new moon, which will be on January 12th. That's the next one, obviously. And also there's a lunar eclipse in the end of May. But like I said, I've been doing it before bed. And honestly, the best time to do any kind of release or clearing is when you feel like you need it. When you feel like lost or dragged down or tired all the time and you can't explain why, or scattered or clumsy or just not yourself, that's the best time to be doing a release.
Sometimes I will find that my hands feel like I can't get them clean.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Energetic goo, and you could have just washed your hands, and you know that just clean feeling when you've used that soap, you wash your hands. But when they are energetically dirty, that doesn't even help. So there's other methods you got to do.
I think that's especially true for people that do healing work, because you use your hands in that healing work. Even if you aren't laying hands on people, that energy is coming out of your hands, and you can really, I mean, I'm a hand washer. I'm a huge hand washer, washing my hands all the time. But I do notice that if I've done a good clearing, like I've been doing, I don't feel like I have to do that so much anymore.
Exactly. Good.
So if we don't release, why do we need to release? Doing a release is a great way to just clear out your energy and make room for new positive things. I like to think about it as like the Tower card. It's kind of like getting the Tower card or the Death card, where the universe is going to send you some things to kind of shake it up and force you to release somehow. So if you're brushing your teeth every night, right? If you stop brushing your teeth are going to start to rot away. Like you got to take care of your spiritual health, your emotional health, and doing that release is going to really help out, doing it regularly.
So some things that I see definitely in my clients when they haven't done some cleansing, some releasing, and they're holding on to stuff is depression. And depression is often anger turned inward, or that feeling stuck or hopeless or lost. There's a lot of people out there right now that are feeling lost about their purpose and even about their own preference. What do they like? What do they not like? And it could be stuffing your own needs down in a misguided people pleasing. Right?
Yeah.
So we see that. So you tend to think of yourself as not important as other people, and your intuition decreases as well when you've too gunked up with energetic and emotional goo.
A lot of times it can take a physical manifestation in your body. And what I find is people tend to get it by way of back pain, joint pain, and migraines. Those are probably the top three that I've noticed a correlation there. And I wanted to share something too, because we are talking about release, and we did talk about, the Death card a few minutes ago. I mean, it really is a death. Like you're killing off that bad energy. There's a podcast that I do listen to, and I do recommend it if you are looking for something on a higher level spiritually. It's called The Spiritual Gaze, and that's spelled Gayz. They are excellent, and they're fun to listen to as well. But there is a quote from Brandon Alter of the Spiritual Gaze podcast, and he said, quote, "Death only takes from us that which we no longer need," which I think is brilliant, because really when you get the Death card, and that's what he was talking about, was the Death card, that is, or the Tower card, it's the universe taking away stuff that we don't need. So doing a clearing and releasing, you're getting rid of that stuff that you don't need. And it's so important to do that.
And we're coming off eclipse season as well. So that's exactly what eclipses do, is cut out what has shifted you off your path. So it will cut out things that are no longer serving you to put you back on the path of your destiny.
And, we always have things to release. I've been doing that release ritual every night, and I still have stuff that I need to release on a daily basis. Oh, yeah. So, you don't have to do it every day, but I've just got a bunch of stuff I'm working through. But there's never a bad time to do a release.
So I will differ a bit on that point. So for empaths, I think if you don't shield or ground well, you're walking around like a huge sponge or Velcro. So in my world, I want my empath clients, my sensitive clients, to be releasing and cleansing and clearing every day. Because if you don't, it'll begin to affect your own mood and personality and cause all the things that we talked about earlier. So I actually cleanse and clear and release several times a day. And I recommend that people do that as well.
Well, you just did a little clearing just before we started here.
I did.
Having computer issues.
Yeah, right. I like to burn things. So I'm a big sager or burn rosemary. Lately, I've been burning a cinnamon stick. Did you know that you can light those things on fire and they smell delicious?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about that for abundance. Cinnamon is all about love and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So clearing away those things that might be blocking those avenues for you. Cinnamon stick, light that stuff on fire safely, of course.
Obviously, yes. And then there are, some of the things we might need to release. Mentally, we might have limiting beliefs, closed-mindedness, prejudices, and especially fears. Emotionally, again, fears, because we might have emotional and mental around that. Also, we might have some damaging relationships that we're involved in, guilt, resentment. Resentment, when you're doing a release, just make sure you turn it into forgiveness, because it's really hard to let go of resentment without finding forgiveness. Those kind of go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we have expectations and anger as well.
When it comes to mental emotional type releases, we may need to release the conditioning that our families have given us growing up, or those relationships gave us growing up, even the conditioning that we did for survival. And I talked earlier about people pleasing as a means of acceptance. We've all heard about fight, flight, or freeze, but there's a fourth mechanism called fawn, and that is people pleasing as a means of survival. And it's really common, and it leads you to suppressing your own self. So releasing the fear about being yourself or being accepted by others is a huge factor for happiness.
And then also there's some physical things we might need to release, illnesses, muscular tension, trauma that's been held in the body. We talked about cellular memory in previous shows. I'm just impressed that I was able to say the word cellular without tripping over it with my tongue.
Right. I've had to do this with my back injury. I herniated a disc at L4, L5, and the healing that physical injury started me on my path to healing emotional traumas, and it's all tied together. There's a great book, The Body Keeps the Score. I think it's by Bessel van der Kolk, and it does talk about how your body, it does hold on to these things. So they're intricately linked that way, body trauma and emotional trauma.
Yeah. And also, one of my all-time favorite books, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, there's a whole section on correlations between body injuries or illnesses and how we carry those in our body based on our emotions, because those go hand in hand. So that's another good reference tool. And then, of course, spiritually, there are energies that you pick up from other people and even objects and places. You might even have some attachments that are unhealthy.
Right. And that includes past life trauma and past life experiences, beliefs, or vows. A common one is a lot of us had some past life where we were maybe a priest or a nun or a holy person. And many people took vows of poverty or even chastity that aren't serving them in the modern world. So you can even cut or sever those vows at different past lives so they're not currently affecting your reality. And that's fun.
So let's talk for a few minutes about the process of release. And April, I know you had already said earlier in the intro that you're an emotional release coach. So why don't you talk about what you do and how that process works for you?
Right. So my process, it does combine coaching and different emotional release techniques. And that's really on a 5-step method, if you will. So the first step is I'm going to educate you and talk to you about how your mind works. It's why things have happened to you. We have 3 distinct brains that function as if they had their own motivation and their own personality. So I show you how each of those brains impacts your decision, impacts your conditioning, impacts your reality and your motivations. So when you have that basic information, you can start to really key in and go, oh, I understand why this is important to me now, or I understand why this is causing me anxiety and I didn't get it before. So that's really step 1, is to just kind of teach you how your mind works and why it's doing these things, including sabotages. So step 2 involves now showing you how and why your mind created limiting beliefs in the first place, and how you may have created stories around your thoughts your feelings, and your beliefs. And these stories determine your action or your inaction. So if you feel stuck, lost, procrastinating, or you just want to get something done, perfectionism even, this is why that is there. And you can have symptoms beginning at this level. So this is where you see anxiety, sabotages, and low self-esteem. So step 3 is I'm going to have you identify these old stories and trapped emotions through a specialized question and answer technique when we really get to the bottom of when did these things begin for you. And we build awareness by observing how your behaviors and thoughts and actions developed because of these stories. So step 4, then once we know the stories, we do a specialized technique to help you release them and any trapped emotions associated with them. And if you are an empath or sensitive person, some of the things that you're storing in your body don't belong to you. They belong to other people that you've absorbed because your subconscious can't tell the difference between you and someone else.
I wanted to jump in and just say, as someone who's been a client of April's with this whole process several times, I'm always surprised that I think I know what's causing the problem and I'm just wrong. And some of it's like stuff that I didn't even know was something for me. So it's pretty amazing.
It starts much earlier than we think. And since you have those 3 brains, they tend to make connections in a different way that aren't logical. So really step 4 is, and step 3 and 4 combined, is really showing you why your brain held on to that, why it created that story. Mm-hmm. And when we bring a little light on that, to shed some light on that, we're bringing light to the darkness or logic to the emotion. So it helps you understand things in a whole new way. And I really love to expand people's way of thinking and looking at situations in a whole new way that they've never thought before. And that really happens in step 4. And in step 5, we begin to create new beliefs for you. We create new desirable stories and intentions based on what you want, what your goals are, not what you were afraid of or thought you deserved or thought was your fate. So we're directing conscious attention to your thoughts and behaviors, and we're going to help you refocus with purpose when you feel out of control and create new intentions and give you that courage and confidence boost when you have these new ways of thinking and being right at your fingertips. And some of that along this journey, because I do have this naturopathic medicine background, a lot of times I will teach my clients how to cleanse themselves, how to shield, how to let this stuff go in different ways, like flower essence therapy or cord cutting, burning, using smoke cleansing. So it's really a magical process. And I invite all of you guys to check that out at aprildarley.com.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Like I said, as someone who's gone through it, April is amazing. So another way that you can work on release is hypnosis, which obviously is my specialty. We've had a whole episode on hypnosis before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because y'all can reference that. But I'll tell you how it differs a little bit from April's technique. With hypnosis, hypnotherapy, we aren't as concerned about the how or the why. We concentrate on creating new beliefs to kind of overwrite those old circumstances that caused your other beliefs. If you kind of think about it like if you ever had a tape recorder, a cassette tape, your subconscious has recorded all these things on the cassette tape. And now under hypnosis, we're taking that cassette tape and we're putting new things on it that you actually want. So we changed your subconscious beliefs that way. So that's kind of the metaphor I like to use for that. And it's not that the how and the why isn't important. It's just not something that we decide to focus on. We try to stay in a more positive direction, and we find that it works out really well. So there's 2 different ways of thinking on this between our 2 modalities, but I think also they certainly can work together for the same patient. And you and I have also worked on some of the same people as well.
Right. And it's all about layers. I mean, the subconscious, the unconscious, they're all in layers. So you may find that one modality unlocks certain layers versus another. And it's great to combine them together.
And actually, I should say there is one exception when you're talking about identifying old stories and trapped emotions and releasing them. When I do past life regression hypnosis, we do go through those old stories. Those are things that you have lived through. Part of the process, we determine what did you learn from that experience and how can you apply it to your current life. So there is a little bit of that there, but that's not something that we do in like a regular hypnosis program. Obviously, these are healing modalities that April and I both do, but there are also some simple things that you can just do on your own, simple rituals to release. And, we talked about moon water just a little while ago, also taking a moon bath, which we talked about in the last episode as well, just standing out and soaking up that moon energy. I was taking moon baths before I even knew it was a thing. Back in Arizona, when I lived there, we always had clear skies for the full moon. And at bedtime, if it was a full moon, I'd put my crystals out to charge. And then I would just stand on my patio and just literally soak up that moon energy. And all I could think of is my neighbors are like, oh, there's that crazy lady out there again. I wasn't naked or anything crazy like that, but I might have been in my pajamas and it might have been like 42 degrees out, but for 3 minutes, it's not going to kill me. Anyway, so that's something that I really enjoyed doing. I felt I got a lot out of it. You may have also heard that if in the morning when you're in the shower, you can do an energy cleanse by imagining that the shower water is full of white clearing light. And as it goes over your body and over your head and over your face, just clearing you away. That's a great way to cleanse and clear.
The next thing we do is burning notes or intentions. And as I mentioned earlier, I do love to burn things. So I do this one a lot and write down things I want to release and burn it at the full moon. And at the new moon, I'll write down what I want to draw in and I'll burn that as well. But I just like that symbolic of burning it and sending it out to the universe.
Then you're really going to love, because that's exactly what we'll be doing on New Year's Eve when you come to my place, which is still during the full moon energy. So
love it.
And then, of course, meditation, just doing a meditation with the intent of clearing. I always like to tout that there are guided meditations on YouTube that I love listening to. However, I've been trying to find some really good ones for release. And because of what I've been doing, and I can't find any. I can't find any that are specific for just a general release. It's just really difficult. So what I've been doing instead is I've been finding some of my favorite channels that I subscribe to have something that's centered around certain chakras. So for example, if I am having issues with self-love or being kind to myself, I'll do something around the heart chakra. So you might want to think about doing something like that.
Well, if you can't find that on YouTube, the universe might be saying, girl, put out your own version of that release.
I actually have a whole list of meditations I'm working on recording right now, and I might make that one of them. We'll see.
Yeah, perfect. I also like to do cord cutting that I mentioned earlier. I'm a huge fan of doing cord cutting. I do it at least 2 or 3 times a day. Certainly after every client, I'll do a cord cutting, and it's almost like bedtime release ritual. Is I will do cord cutting. I will release any energy that I may have picked up. And I usually ask Archangel Michael for him to cleanse, clear it, and return it to the person. And then if anybody has taken my energy, I ask that it be extracted from them, cleansed, cleared, and returned to me. So everybody's ended the night with their own energy, but just leveled up and improved. So that's a bedtime ritual for me.
Yeah. And if you have a hard time picturing yourself cutting that cord, you can ask Archangel Michael to use his mighty sword to slice that cord. You can do that. But also similarly, I love the big inhale, exhale, clap deal. And I know that sounds so weird. I've got that here in the notes like that, but all it is taking a big inhale, releasing a big exhale, and then just doing a big clap. I just scared the crap out of Karma. She jumped right off the pillow she's laying on in her couch. She's like,
she's probably thinking about doing something naughty anyway.
No, she's just sleeping there, being good. Anyway, so doing that clap kind of mixes up the energy and kind of is that pop. And I like to do that, especially after I do readings, because you got to protect yourself from that energy, but some of it still creeps in. And then another thing that I love to do is exchange. I call it an energy exchange. I don't know that it really is. I guess it kind of is with the earth and the trees. You can do this as a grounding method and feel yourself connecting to the earth, or you can literally just lay your hand on a tree trunk and just imagine that all that crud, all that gross energy that you're trying to get rid of going to the tree. The tree is going to take it and transform it into positive energy. And then imagine taking all the green, lush goodness, all the life, that amazing stuff that the tree has, and bring that into your own energetic body. So it is kind of an energy exchange in that way. And by the way, something I forgot to mention too, you had mentioned burning things, burning notes. When I do that, just a couple notes about that. I know I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but with the burning of the notes, if you're going to do it inside, make sure you during or at the end, open a window or a door and because there's smoke that goes up in the air, let that energy out of your space. If you're doing it outside, that's not an issue, obviously. But when you have the ashes left over, let them cool and then bury them in a house plant or in a plant out in the yard or somewhere so that the plants can transform that energy that's left from those notes, just kind of like what I just mentioned with the earth and the trees.
If you are in an apartment and you don't really want to go bury anything,
you can open a door.
Just let them go or down the sink and you'll be fine.
I know. I just like to do that because I feel like the plant really does something to transform that negative energy. And so that's what I do. I mean, you don't have to do it. These are all just suggestions anyway.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because I've gotten so many books on like witchcraft where they're like making it less accessible if you're a modern witch or you don't bury anything or you don't have that green bag with 7 red silk ties. And it's like, you don't need those things because it's like your intention is the key. So if you don't have any trees, if you are in a high-rise apartment building listening to this, girl, put it in the sink. You're going to be fine.
And then of course you can also supplement any of these things with tools like sound. So using a crystal bowl, crystal sound bowl, a Tibetan bowl, any kind of sound chimes, even just your own voice, speaking, chanting, or singing.
I once had an office that I shared with someone and I couldn't burn anything because she was so sensitive to sage or Palo Santo. So I did have to cleanse my office with a bell. So I got a bicycle bell because it was very loud, kind of cute. And so it does do a great job of cleansing your space as well.
And then there are essential oils that you can use. Some of the really good oils for that would be ylang ylang and lavender are excellent for that. And also, of course, crystals. My go-to crystal for doing clearings, I have 3 that are my favorites right now. Clear quartz is my go-to for everything. It's just a really good cleansing stone. It just clears your energy right up. You can do the same thing with satin spar, the version of selenite, same kind of thing. And also I've been using shungite, and I have a shungite pyramid that I purchased from the Green Man Studios, who we've had on the show before. It's amazing. It just takes that energy out of my energetic body. And because it's a pyramid, it kind of makes it go up and out and away. And it's just directional up into the sky and away from me. So it's pretty cool.
I am a big black tourmaline fan. That's probably my workhorse because that shields, protects, grounds, transmutes negative energy, turns it back into positive. So I have a big chunk of that.
When I use black tourmaline, I feel like for me, what it does is it kind of acts like a sponge and it soaks up that energy like out of my body, like almost in a magnetic way. It just kind of soaks it all up. And for that reason, I do cleanse it often. And some people say you don't have to cleanse black tourmaline, but I find that if I don't, it just feels weighted and heavy just from all that stuff. And by the way, if you're doing a clearing and you're drawing stuff out of your body, use your dominant hand, because that would be like your giving hand where things go out from your energetic body. And then for receiving, if you're using, like, for example, a clear quartz to bring in cleansing energy, use your non-dominant hand, in which case for me, it would be my left hand.
If you like homeopathy, you can also use that to help you cleanse or release. I do recommend a homeopathic practitioner or naturopathic doctor to help you find the right one for you. I'll use a lot of flower essence therapy in my practice just to help people let go and become emotionally balanced again. And then massages are a great way to release a lot of things that you've been holding on to in your physical body.
And they just feel so good.
They do. right? I actually have to take activated charcoal after a massage because I get so many toxins dumped into my system. I'm really sensitive to it. If I don't, I'll have flu-like symptoms for 2 days. It's the weirdest thing. Some people are just going to be more sensitive or hold more stuff. I don't know. And then doing energy work. So whether that's Reiki or other forms of energy work that can help you cleanse your aura, cleanse your field. And it's a great way to let things go.
So just in case you were wondering, I had mentioned a little bit earlier, I'd done an energy cleanse. Just to say that I've done that seems very simple because this was one of the few things that I've actually done that seemed really life-changing for me. It was amazing. It's A Ho'omana by Keola and Tam Connor, which they're prominent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I went to their home. It's not really close to Fort Worth. It's on the other side of Dallas from here, but it was definitely worth the drive. So amazing. So check them out. If you see them at a show, they do sell jewelry there, but they do this healing process and it's amazing. And just hearing his story and everything is really incredible as well.
And he's a native Hawaiian healer and does combine that with some of his energy work. And he's definitely the sweetest guy. Great energy. Yes. So nice. His wife amazing. As well. They're wonderful.
Yeah. And it also at the show, I mean, I know it's not COVID protocol, but I was going through a lot and he just asked if he could give me a hug, and just doing that, I connected with his energy. I could feel the energy between our hearts. Like he just has this healing, calming feeling. It's just so amazing. Such a gift. Well, that's all we have. We do hope you got some good ideas and some good information, but we would love to answer any questions you have. Feel free to send us an email at spiritualbasicspodcast@gmail.com or check out our website, spiritualbasicspodcast.com.
Thanks for listening, and we're so happy to have you join us each and every week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
This has been Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen. Find full episodes on your favorite listening platform or visit spiritualbasicspodcast.com.